There is something familiar that everyone has experienced: ordering pizza home. It is one of the most convenient services, allowing you to enjoy a delicious meal without leaving your home. But have you ever thought that something as simple as ordering a pizza can lead to a terrifying night? Today, I will tell you 3 true stories where people simply wanted a delicious meal, but ended up with a lifelong obsession. Stay until the end of the video, because the last story will make you think twice about opening your door to receive delivery at midnight. Story 1. It was one of those nights in Sleepy Hollow. A thick fog rolled in, shrouding the town in an unsettling silence. The kind of night where every shadow seemed alive and every sound amplified. I was on another pizza delivery, just trying to get through my shift. The streets were deserted, the silence almost oppressive. But that night, something was wrong. As I drove down a deserted road on the outskirts of town, my headlights barely piercing the thick fog, I suddenly saw a figure. A man in a hoodie was crossing the street, appearing out of nowhere. I slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. The sickening sound told me I had hit him. My heart was pounding as I jumped out of the car, fear rising in my stomach. The man lay there, motionless, his face hidden under the hood. Panic set in as I bent down to check on him. He was unconscious, limp and unresponsive. I fumbled for my phone, ready to call for help, when a scream tore through the night. It was unlike anything I had ever heard, raw, desperate, and coming from the woods just across the road. I froze, torn between calling for help and investigating the scream. Something primal urged me to run, but I couldn't leave without knowing. I left the man lying there and ventured into the woods, the fog swallowing me. But when I reached the source of the scream, there was nothing. Just darkness and the eerie silence. Confused and disoriented, I stumbled back onto the road, only to find the man gone. My mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. I rushed back to the car, trying to shake off the feeling that I was being followed. I needed to finish the delivery and get out of there. When I finally got to the customer's house, I was nervous. But when I handed them the pizza, their eyes widened in horror. "Who's in your back seat?" they asked, their voices shaking. I spun around, my heart nearly stopping. The back seat was empty. I didn't see anyone get in, but the fear in the customer's eyes told me something was very wrong. I rushed back to my car and drove straight to the police station. When the police searched the car, they found something that sent a chill down my spine. A pair of bloody shoes on the floor of the back seat. No fingerprints, no clues. Just a chilling reminder of the horror I had escaped. That night in Sleepy Hollow was just the beginning. The fog, the screams, the man gone. It wasn't over. It was just waiting, lurking in the shadows, ready to strike again. And somehow, deep down, I knew it would. Story 2. It was almost midnight, and the Raven Rock pizza place was closing for the night. The town was small, quiet, and isolated, especially at this hour. I was about to call it a night when the phone rang. My co-worker, Jake, said as he handed me the paper, "One last order. Are you sure you want it? It's way out on the edge." I hesitated. "Okay, I'll take it. Better end the night with a tip." The drive seemed longer than expected, darkness closing in on all sides. As I drove, I could feel unease rising in my chest, but I pushed it aside. Finally, the house came into view, lit only by a dim porch light. It was small, old, and dark. The kind of place I didn't feel right about, especially at this hour. I pulled up, parked, and picked up the pizza. As I walked up to the front door, I noticed how quiet everything was. Even the usual sounds of the night were inaudible. I knocked, the sound echoing in the silence of the night. There was no answer from inside. I knocked again, louder this time, but still no sound. "Hello, pizza delivery," I called, my voice barely above a whisper. But there was only silence. Just as I was about to leave, something caught my eye, a slight movement in the corner of the window. I turned to look, and there was an old woman just standing there staring at me. I spoke, trying to keep my voice calm. "Ma'am, I have your pizza?" She didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed, and her smile made me feel a little scared. It wasn't a warm or welcoming smile. It was cold, twisted, almost predatory. My heart skipped a beat, and a chill ran through my body. Feeling a deep sense of unease, I quickly decided to leave the pizza at the door and leave. As I turned to walk back to my car, I sensed that I was being followed. Come on, I muttered to myself, fumbling with my keys. I finally started the engine, desperate to put as much distance between me and that house as possible. Just as I was about to drive away, I saw her again. She was standing right next to my car window, that cold smile still plastered on her face. Her eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. I screamed. She didn't say a word. She just stood there, smiling that horrible smile. Fear gripped me like a vice, and my breath caught in my throat. I didn't wait to see what she would do next. I slammed on the gas and sped off into the night. My heart pounded as I drove, my mind racing with questions and fears. What had I just seen? Who was she? Or worse? When I finally got back to the store, Jake was closing up shop. "Everything okay?" he asked, noticing my expression. I said, still shaking, "No, I'm done with night deliveries. No more, Jake. Whatever's out there, I don't want to deal with it anymore." Jake nodded, seeing the fear in my eyes. "Okay, man, no more night runs." That night in Raven Rock changed everything for me. That smile still haunts my nightmares, a reminder that some places and some people are better left alone. History 3. We've all been there, working late, walking quiet streets while the world sleeps. But sometimes the night holds darker secrets than we're willing to face. One evening, while balancing schoolwork and my part-time job as a pizza delivery driver, I was sent to a location that still haunts me. The command led me deep into Blackwood Forest, to an old wooden house known for its troubled history. It was the kind of place where even the trees seemed to whisper warning. As I drove deeper into the woods, the road narrowed and the last streetlight flickered out of sight. My GPS faltered, losing its signal, but the address burned into my mind. I finally reached the house, or what was left of it. The structure seemed to be collapsing under the weight of its own decay. There was no front door, just a black void where there should have been one, as if the house itself had long since given up. The air was stale, not just from the humidity, but from a sense of claustrophobia. I hesitated, every instinct screaming at me to turn back. But work was work, so I pulled out my phone and dialed the number on the order sheet. The phone rang, each tone amplifying the knot of anxiety in my gut. When the call was answered, a voice scratched across the line, like fingernails on a chalkboard. "Bring it back." The voice was hoarse. Something about the tone was wrong, very wrong, but I was too caught up in this to back out now. Cautiously, I circled the house. The back was worse, a barren yard overgrown with weeds and littered with rusted metal. Sitting on an old wooden chair was a man, or at least something that looked like a man. He was strangely still, his face obscured by shadows. My voice trembled as I called out to him. There was no response, not even a flinch. Then, from around the corner, another figure appeared. This one was different, alive, alert, smiling. But the smile was all wrong. It was too wide, too forced, like a mask covering something. Go check something inside, the figure whispered, the smile never fading. That was it. Panic surged through me. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears, drowning out the eerie silence of the woods. Without thinking, I dropped the pizzas and ran back to the car, not daring to look. My hands shook as I fumbled with my keys, desperate to escape the nightmare I'd stumbled into. Then, when I was safely in place, I called the police. They responded quickly, but when they returned, their report sent a chill down my spine. The house had been abandoned for years. No one was supposed to live there. That night in Blackwood Forest changed me. It was a reminder that sometimes the darkest places hold more than just darkness.